And welcome to the first ever episode of the KayfabeKast. I'm your host, the Kayfabe Jobber, and I have had a wonderful week. If you already haven't, please go ahead and check out my videos from WrestleMania week. I've been to the Hall of Fame, NXT, WrestleMania, Raw, and Smackdown, and I have all live reactions and some unseen footage. So if you don't know what the show is about, go ahead and check out my introduction video. Now, we're going to do things a little different since the Superstar Shakeup is coming next week. I'm going to try and guess which superstars are best fit for this draft. So let's get started with 5 Raw superstars. The first person on this list should be Emma. Emma's just returned from injury and she doesn't really have a storyline, so I think it's perfect for her to go over to Smackdown Live and start something fresh. Emma could feud with the likes of Becky Lynch, Naomi, or even team up with the likes of Natalya, Carmella, or even Alexa Bliss. The next person, or should I say people, Enzo and Cass. Enzo and Cass have kind of found their groove, lost their groove, found their groove, lost their groove a number of times on Raw, but moving over to SmackDown Live could be very good for them because they can start over fresh. Now, it's no hidden fact that the SmackDown Live tag team division is kind of lackluster. It started off really well, but then they kind of lost their foot somewhere in the middle. So moving over to SmackDown Live for Enzo and Cass could be very good because they bring that energy and they bring that passion that is required in that division. Third person on this list, I think, should be Sami Zayn. Now, Shane McMahon cut a promo talking about how SmackDown Live is the land of opportunity. Sami Zayn is currently the ultimate underdog, and moving over to SmackDown Live could be beneficial for him as it was for, let's say, a Dolph Ziggler in the start when he faced Dean Ambrose at SummerSlam for the WWE Championship. Someone like Sami Zayn, who's a workhorse, who works really hard, he could make a name for himself on SmackDown Live and maybe move up to the upper echelons of wrestling. The next person on this list is the boss, Sasha Banks. If you take the WrestleMania 33 women's match from SmackDown, you could have seen how uncoordinated it was at times. There were too many bodies, they didn't work too well together, and Sasha Banks could be that person who fixes that and gets people to step their game up because she is that good. Sasha Banks could move over and wrestle people like Natalya or even Alexa Bliss, which I'd love to see. But she also could turn heel and perhaps wrestle Becky Lynch or Naomi for the title, and I'm sure those would be great matches. And the final person who I think should move over to SmackDown Live is Braun Strowman. Now, keeping in mind what Shane McMahon said about the land of opportunity, Braun Strowman kind of got lost in the mix after he lost his match at Fastlane to Roman Reigns. Braun Strowman is destined for great things. He's one of the best big men I've seen in a very long time. He could hold a title belt. I think he could do really, really, really good things. So that's it for Raw. Let's jump over to SmackDown Live. The first person who I think should jump over to Raw is Apollo Crews. SmackDown doesn't give him enough time to showcase his talents. Raw is a longer show. He'll be able to display his talents better on Raw. But as of now, Apollo Crews is kind of being wasted on SmackDown Live. Second person I think who needs to move over to Raw is Kalisto. Kalisto's kind of done nothing on SmackDown Live because he's a natural-born cruiserweight. He's a fantastic luchador, and that's what the cruiserweight division really needs. An established character, an established person to kind of have a little tussle with Neville, perhaps. Third person I think needs to jump over is Mojo Rawley. Mojo Rawley kind of needs to go over to Raw for the same reason Apollo Crews. They both kind of don't have time on SmackDown Live. A big win like that at WrestleMania kind of needs to formulate into something, and Raw is the best place to do that for Mojo Rawley. The next person on this list who needs to make that jump is Mickie James. Mickie James is a well-known women's wrestler from back in the day. She was kind of in that transition period between the Attitude Era and the PG era, let's say. With Mickie James jumping over to Raw, she can kind of become the catalyst for people like Bayley, people like Charlotte, people like Nia Jax to kind of become megastars in their own rights. And the final person that needs to move to Raw is Dolph Ziggler. Now, I'm a huge Dolph Ziggler fan. I love the guy. He's a workhorse. He puts on some great matches. He sells so well. And I think he's really, really, really being underappreciated on SmackDown. Dolph Ziggler cut some great promos, but unfortunately, after losing the matches, nothing happened. His heel turn has not done as well as we would have hoped it would have done for him. There are some big names that I think are not going to move, like Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, AJ Styles. That's purely because they kind of have their own storylines going on. And now on to our next segment. Now this week is probably the most difficult week to decide the by God moment. There are 3 call-ups from NXT. There was a return of Finn Balor, but if I had to pick one, it would have to be Kurt Angle being named the Raw GM. Now the reason I say this is because I was at Raw when he was named the Raw GM, and I kind of marked out a little bit when Teddy Long's music hit. What? But obviously when Kurt Angle's music hit, I popped. It was crazy. It was a great moment. Now on to the third segment, which is my top 3. Since this is the first episode, I'm gonna give you my 3, 2, 1 of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So I'm gonna start with number 3, which is Triple H. I fucking love Triple H. That man has done so much for this business. I mean, just look at NXT for example. The presence that he brought to the ring always elevated the match, always elevated the other person. Triple H is one of those guys that no matter what match you see him in, you want to watch. My number 2 of all time is Shawn Michaels. Now this pick kind of speaks for itself. I mean, who has performed better in the ring than Shawn Michaels? He's a legend in the business. He has had a legendary career. He's had 10 out of 10 matches, 5-star matches. You name the ranking system, he has topped it. My number 1 of all time is the Rated R Superstar. Edge is my favorite for many reasons. Edge has gone through flaming tables, jumped off ladders, gone through 4 tables, gone through Hell in a Cell. I mean, he's done it. He's done everything. He's won Money in the Bank. He's even won the Money in the Bank briefcase without competing in the match itself. He's won a Royal Rumble. He's just done everything. Now for the 4th segment of the show, the KJ Power Rankings. So let's start with number 10, and no, it's not Ty Dillinger, but it's Nia Jax. Nia Jax showed some dominance in the ring after she lost her match, but she came out looking the best out of all the women in that ring. Number 9 is Sheamus and Cesaro. Sheamus and Cesaro came off with a big win, which they really needed, and I think they're pretty over with the crowd right now. Number 8 is AJ Styles. The phenomenal one turned face by shaking Shane McMahon's hand in the middle of that ring, and I guess WWE had no choice because he was being cheered so much by everyone. Number 7 is Ty Dillinger. Ty Dillinger, who's been so over with the crowd, has finally made his SmackDown Live debut, and I think things are about to turn up. Number 6 are the Hardy Boys. Now the Hardy Boys had the triumphant return at WrestleMania 33, and I think they're continuing that momentum. 5 are the top guys, the Revival. The Revival had one of the best tag team matches of all time on NXT TakeOver Orlando, and now they've carried that momentum over to Raw, and let's see where they go from here. Number 4 is Mr. Shinsuke Nakamura. It came to no surprise that when Mr. Shinsuke's violin hit, everyone in the crowd went absolutely ballistic, and now he is here on the main roster. Number 3 is the new Raw General Manager, Mr. Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle already had some great segments with Enzo and Cass, Sami Zayn, and he's only destined to be even better. Number 2 is Finn Balor. Finn Balor was expected to return. Everyone knew he was going to be back, but that didn't stop the crowd from going absolutely crazy. The number 1 is a little controversial, and I'm not very happy to give it, but I have to give the devil his due, Roman Reigns. Now before you go wild, give me a second, listen to me. Roman Reigns did a fantastic job in making sure that he got all the heat he could from the crowd. I mean, who's gone 15 minutes just hearing boos and shut the fuck up and fuck you and get out of here and whatever we screamed at him. He just took it and made it his own and got everyone to hate him and dropped 5 words. 5 goddamn words that made everyone even madder. The best part is, we still don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy or the guy. Piece of shit. I booed him so hard that I lost my voice at WrestleMania. So just because we're still talking about him after Raw went off the air, I have to give him the first position. And now we're down to the final segment of the show, which is KJ Trivia. So my question for you this week is, Mark Jindrak will look in a mirror and call himself what? Send your answers over on Twitter at Kayfabe Jobber and let me know. And next week, if you get the answer correct, I will read your Twitter handle on my show. So that's the end of episode 1 of the KayfabeKast. You can check out my entire WrestleMania week, which I have uploaded, and it's all available on my channel. And please follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Kayfabe Jobber. That's it from me for this week. Kayfabe Jobber, out.